Assalamualaikum everyone. We'll just wait for a few more people to join. We're live on Instagram and YouTube, inshallah. So we'll just wait for a few more people and then inshallah we can start with ziyarat. Okay, I think let's start with the ziyarat, please. Sorry, just bear with us. I think we're having some technical difficulties.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم
My apologies. Please just do bear with us. Inshallah, we'll get the issue sorted out quickly.
Testing. اللهم صل اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد المرسيين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدتي نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور، السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت عظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت عظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله، برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشيائهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاتبا، ولعن الله ابن مرجانا، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي، بأبي أنت وأمي لقد أظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونسب لك الحرب، وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم، وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشيائكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب، وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد، اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعنة منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن الإصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت، وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر الأهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا، ثم العن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم العن يزيد خامسا، والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانا وعمر بن سعد وشمرة وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم، الحمد لله على عظيم رزيته. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبتني قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام.
Thank you so much for such a beautiful recitation. We will now be introducing our speaker. Alima Masma Jafar is a qualified dental surgeon and has a master's degree in Islamic studies. She has experience teaching in the Hawza at the Islamic College and has studied in Qom. She has also qualified as a chaplain and worked with the women at Holloway Prison as well as Hertfordshire Police. Alima Masma Jafar has also authored a few books and is currently resident Alima of Hujjat Islamic Center. Alhamdulillah, today we are honored to have her speak to us on some lessons we can learn from Habib ibn Madahir and the way we can implement them in our lives. We are live on YouTube and Instagram as well. So inshallah, at the end, we'll have time for a Q&A. So if you have any questions, please do send them in, and inshallah, we can have them answered. Alima Masma, are you on the call?
Yes, I am. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem.
Just to mention, we can't actually see you. I think your camera might be off.
Okay. Oops. Better?
Better. Thank you so much. Please, whenever you're ready, begin.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى عترة الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So I've been asked to look at Habib ibn Mazahir and what we can learn from his life, which we can implement into our lives. I think the first lesson that we learn from Habib ibn Mazahir is, well, the biggest lesson is choosing the right friends. Imam chose Habib as a friend from childhood, and when Imam needed him, he called him to his side. So the first lesson is to ensure that we pick the right friends very early on. For those of us who are a little bit older, it's never too late to pick the right friends, but it's important to have the right friends. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Furqan, Surah number 25, verse 27 to 29. In verse 27, he says, and the day when the unjust one shall bite his hands, they'll be biting their hands saying, oh, would that I have taken away with the messenger. Why? And in verse 28, he says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Ya waylata laytani lam attakhid fulanan khalila. Oh, woe is me. I would that I had not taken such so-and-so as a friend. Why? the next verse continues, لَقَدْ أَضَلَّنِي عَنِ الذِّكْرِ بَعْدَ إِذْ جَاءَنِي. Certainly he led me astray from the reminder after it had come to me. So we need to make sure that we pick friends that actually help us on our journey towards Allah, that encourage us, and that do amr bil ma'ruf and nahy munkar for us. And it's important to have this from a very young age, because obviously I need that guidance from a very, very early on. And also, if we grow together as friends, then we know each other, and we know what works and what doesn't for each other, and we know each other quite intimately. So it's much easier then to sort of get advice from someone that close. So what are the qualities that a friend should have? Obviously, there should be someone that leads us towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this was beautifully put by Imam Hussain alayhi salam when he writes to Habib ibn Muzahir, where he says, in his letter, he writes, "This is the letter from Hussein ibn Ali to al-Rajul al-Faqih, a man who is well versed in his duty and knowledge of religion." He says to him, "Ya Habib, we have need of your company in Karbala. Come to us." So Imam is actually specifying that your friend who you choose should be someone who is well versed in their duty and knowledge of religion. And that's quite important, because if our friend is someone, and I'm not talking about acquaintances, I'm not talking about people, sort of work colleagues and people that we know and people we work with, but people who are our friends are those who we will turn to at times of need, those who we will turn to for advice. And so it's important that they've got their head screwed on right, so that they know what their duty to Allah is. They have knowledge of the religion, so that when they're actually giving me advice as a friend, they're not giving it from a perspective which will actually move me away from Allah rather than closer to Allah. So it's really, really important that they are well versed in their duty towards Allah and their knowledge of religion. Also, a friend is someone that will not only come to your aid immediately, but will bring whatever resources they can to help you. Whatever resources they have at hand, they'll use that to help you. They won't hold anything back when you need them. When you need them, they'll be there with everything that they have. And we see this in Habib, where when Imam wrote to him and he received the letter, he made arrangements immediately to leave Kufa. And when he reached Karbala, he asked Imam if he could go to the Banu Asad, because he could talk to them, and actually asked them to join Imam, and some of them actually did. So it's important that not only are they there for us at times of need, but they are there with everything that they have. And I think you only really see the value of a friend when you really, really need them in how they behave. And the final thing that I'd like to talk about when it comes to friends is when Habib actually came to Karbala, Zainab Salamullahi alayha sends her salams to Habib. And it's beautiful. She sends a message with Fiza that says to Habib that Zainab sends her salams to you. And when Habib ibn Muzahir hears this, tears come to his eyes, and he says, "Wah, a day has come that men like me receive salams from princesses like Zainab." There's a lot of lessons to be learned from that statement and from that event. The fact that Zainab knew Habib enough to be able to send her salams to him, and Habib knew Zainab well enough to know her status and who she was, shows that it's important for friends not only to know us as our friends, but to know our family, and our family to know to know them as well. So friends should know our family, and our family should know our friends, because again, our family is part and parcel of who we are. And if we can bring our friends into that family, they will realize when they're advising us, one, how what the dynamics of our family is, one, and secondly, the family can actually then guide us as well into what sort of friends we should have and we shouldn't have, because again, our family knows us better than anyone else. So it's important to involve the family within our friendship. And finally, the humility of Habib is beautiful. And I think one of the things that we should look out for in a friend is someone who is humble and has humility, who doesn't have a huge ego or is not very, very proud. Because I think with the ego, it is something that leads on to lots of different negative things, whether it's for themselves or others around them. So, you know, a person with a lot of ego or with a lot of pride will make wrong decisions. They will give wrong advice. It will be very much based on what works for them and how it helps them. So when we're looking for a friend, another characteristic which is really, really important is that the friend should be someone who is outwardly humble. Obviously, we can't know what's inside someone's heart, but you can generally tell when a person is outwardly proud or when someone has a huge ego. And again, as friends for each other, we should be able to help each other to point out when our ego is in play, because I think everyone has a slight ego, but it's about sort of trying to break it as much as is possible for the sake of Allah. So whenever our ego is in play, a friend would be someone who points it out to us. A friend is someone who's like a mirror, you know, and the hadith that says a mu'min is a mirror for another mu'min, and mu'min should be friends for each other. So, you know, it should be someone who points out our faults without judgment, and doesn't tell, again, a mirror just points out the faults. It doesn't make judgments. A mirror is someone that points out the faults and then moves on and doesn't tell those faults to the next person who's standing in front of the mirror. So again, a friend shouldn't tell our faults to other people, and a mirror can keep a secret. It doesn't tell anything to anyone else that comes about. And again, a friend should be able to do that. So looking at how a mirror is a mu'min for a mu'min is a mirror for a mu'min, actually gives you a lot of characteristics in what we should look for in a friend. And yeah, so I think that the main lesson that I've got from Habib ibn Mazahir is the value of friendship and how important it is to pick the right friends so that they'll actually be there in your time of need. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I don't know if there's any questions from what I've said.
Thank you so much for that talk. I have received a few questions. Hold on one moment, please, as I sort through them.
No problem.
The first few questions are about the history of Habib. One of the first questions was, did Habib have any family with him in Karbala?
He'd come with some of his brothers and his son. So yes, he did.
And was he in any wars before Karbala with the
Yeah.
Imams?
He had taken part in the wars with Imam Ali alayhi salam. At the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he was actually quite old at the time of Karbala. So yes, he had taken part in a lot of the wars with the Imam previously.
Thank you very much. A question relating to friendship. How can you ensure that you yourself are a good friend?
I think, again, if you think of that, the hadith which talks about a mu'min is a mirror for a mu'min, to actually think about how a mirror would be in, like, do I point out the flaws in my friend? Do I make judgments on them, or do I just point them out? How much of my ego is in play? If I'm pointing out a flaw, then the journey is on the other person. I can't make that journey for them. And if I'm expecting them to change and they're not changing, then my ego is in play here. So my duty as a friend is just to point it out and to encourage, to be there for them if they want to make changes in their lives, but not to feel bad if they don't, because you can't control what other people do. So again, whenever I feel bad because someone's not taking on my advice, then I know my ego is in play here. And just literally, I think a friend is someone who is there. If you're a good friend, you'll be there when someone needs you. You'll be there when, even when they don't need you, you pick up on the vibes. You know when your friend needs to talk, needs to be there. You keep their trust. You give whatever you can to help a friend out. And honestly, as a mu'min, we should be friends to all mu'min. So I think as a Muslim, anyone who comes into the fold of Islam is my friend. And that's really important for me to remember, rather than just handpicking specific friends, to actually realize that I may choose to have certain people who I trust, but all Muslims should be able to trust me as a friend.
Thank you. That's a very interesting point. A question I have myself is perhaps, to what extent should you be a friend to someone when perhaps they, because they say that you are the 5 people you hang around most. So to what extent should you be a good friend to others if it's impacting yourself?
Okay, so I think it's important to self-reflect and think about what I need in my life as well for my journey towards Allah, because that's important. So I need to have people in my life that help me move on my spiritual journey towards Allah. That doesn't mean I can't be friends with people who are not helping me, as long as they're not pulling me down. So I need to know what my strengths and weaknesses are. If my weaknesses are such that if I am a friend with someone and I find that they tend to pull me down, or every time I'm with them, then, you know, my spiritual energy is on a low, or I end up doing haram, for example, ghiba, or, you know, something else that's haram, then I need to maybe realize that I'm not strong enough to be the friend of this person. And again, bring it back to myself, and rather than judging the other person, thinking I'm not strong enough, and maybe I need to sort of just step away from this friendship until I become stronger. So the idea is to constantly be working on yourself to make yourself strong enough to be able to be a friend to everyone and anyone, but sometimes realizing that I may not be strong enough and I need to step away from certain friendships because I myself am not strong enough.
I see. Yes, thank you very much. One final question for today. If there is one lesson from Habib that you think we should apply this Muharram, what would it be?
It would obviously have to revolve around friendship. And I think I've been thinking about this a lot, because initially when I started doing this research, I was thinking of the friends that I have in my life, and thinking about, you know, we all want an amazing friend who helps us on our spiritual journey and who will bring us, you know, make us move towards Allah. And sometimes I think we look for perfection in others, and there is no such thing as perfection. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, rather than looking at or praying or hoping for a friend who is so perfect that they help me on my journey, and you know, they're there for me and they'll do everything, because I can't control who comes into my life to a certain, you know, like who Allah decides to bring into my life, but I can control the effect I have on others. So the lesson I took from Habib is, what sort of a friend am I to others? So rather than looking at what sort of friends do I have, actually sort of reflecting on what sort of friend am I to others, and how can I be a better friend, so that they actually feel comfortable enough to call me at their time of need, and they wouldn't think twice about it. They'd actually just, you know, pick up the phone and just call me when they needed me. So I think that's probably the lesson that I've taken away from Habib's life.
Thank you so much. This has been a really good talk, and inshallah we can all find something to apply from it. Inshallah, tomorrow we will continue with the series. Thank you so much for everyone that joined us today, and inshallah, Sister Masma will have you back again tomorrow.
Inshallah.
Thank you very much everyone for joining, and inshallah please don't forget to join again tomorrow. Thank you so much, and Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you.